Sketch constraints tell a model how to behave. Dimensions tell a model exactly how big or how far apart things should be. In this example, we have a few sketch constraints on our sketch. Now it's time to precisely determine the size of this object. Before we determine the size, we need to set two things first. We know that this object needs to be symmetrical, so we're going to type in 120 and 120. Now when we drag the model around, we can see that the sketch constraints are doing their job by maintaining the design intent and making sure things that should be equal are equal. But we haven't sized anything yet. To do that, we'll go to our dimension tool and start applying dimensions. The radius of this should be 1.5. And we can see that the model updates to reflect the size that we input. We want the diameter of the inner circle to be 0.5. The radius of these three objects should be 0.5. The final dimension to fully define the sketch will simply determine how shallow or deep these arcs are. In our case, we want this to be a value of 3.2. Unlike some applications, dimensions are not simply dumb text. They are live objects that can be edited as you need to. Let's pretend we have a design change to make, and instead of 120, it needs to be 110. We want that change to be on this side too. We can see that as we modify dimensions, the size of the object actually updates. This makes design changes extremely easy and predictable. Most figures allow you to create dimensions as you are creating the figure to remove the number of steps. In our case, we'll simply type a number of 2, 0.5. This needs to be 2, but we want it to be at 135 degrees. We'll go up another half. And finally finish it out with a vertical constraint. This figure is now fully defined, and we created everything on the fly. Dimensions are not limited to using them just between sketch figures. Many times you'll need to define a dimension based off existing geometry, like the edge of this object. We can define the offset of the circle to be 0.5 from the top and the side. We can do the same for this one. Finally, we'll apply a final sizing dimension of 0.5. This sketch is now fully defined.